ahead and get us softly started today on this Friday. Thank you guys for being here with us today with this Gateway Course Success Community of Practice. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. If not, welcome back. Thank you for continuing to be a part of this community. And what we would like for it to be is just a space where we continue to share best practices, where we talk about the things that are within Gateway that are emerging, some things that are still within Gateway course success that we could work on. But today's theme is looking at beyond our gates, kind of piggybacking off of our last session of how to incorporate, I guess you could say, some strategies, whether in and out of the classroom, that help build belonging and engagement with our students. So today we will have some folks who will present and give us some of their strategies and best practices that have been deemed successful or that they are trying. Hopefully something resonates with you today that you could take back and use within your courses. I'd like to do a quick check-in with everyone on the call today. If you have a smartphone available or another screen that you could tap into, please feel free to scan this code. It'll take you to a Mentimeter page, and it's just a wellness check-in. And I will pull that up on the screen so that you guys can participate. Just kind of pin where you are, how the week has been for you or how you're feeling today. There are a couple options. There's a forest trail, meaning that I'm reflective and moving steady. There's a coastal walk that you are seeking calm and perspective. Mountain trail, I'm trekking along or doing something challenging. The garden path, I'm here to enjoy community and growth. And then the last one, fast lane path, energized and ready for action. So just again, pin where you are and we'll see where folks are today. And once you've done that, just give me a thumbs up so I know that I've captured everyone. But I thought this,
mine is so small I can't hardly see it on my phone.
yeah, I can for sure zoom in. Is that better?
Actually, for me, the problem was it was really small on my phone itself, and my old eyes couldn't get close enough to see it. It was helpful for you to like read out the names because then I could just point to the one that I suspected was right.
Yes. Okay. I think there's also like a better way to do this too in presentation mode. But a lot of folks seem to be within the mountain trail and the garden path. So a lot of us here coming for community and growth or doing something very challenging. Now I'll just give it a few more moments. I know folks are still coming in, but yeah, just to pin where you are today, just as our check-in during this community of practice. All right, I think we have captured everyone. I thank you guys for sharing where you are. For those folks that are on the mountain trail, I hope that that mountain peak becomes a valley super quickly. For those joining for community and growth today, I thank you. For the fast lane path, I'm definitely there with you guys. The week for sure has gone by super fast for me. I hope to join the folks on the coastal walk and those within the forest. You know, I truly have no desire to go to the forest. It's a place where bugs and nature very much lives. But if that's for you, I love that. But thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to come off mute. ask questions, but we want the session to be very interactive. And with that said, I will pass it over to one of the Gateway Course Success Senior Fellows, Fallon, who will introduce herself and do some introductory slides as well.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Fallon Willoughby. I'm an associate professor at SkyCTC for FYE and a senior fellow for CPE. So one of the things we talked about at our last COP was that we require students to be college ready, which means we want, activities, engagements. We want to have them commit to classes, but our classrooms really student ready? Are we really ready to get them engaged, to have them talk to each other, to do more than just sit there? And be lectured at? Do we really pull them into the material and build that community with them? So you can go to the next slide. And this is really important, as we talked about last time as well, because belonging matters. Students need to feel like they should be there, right? Because when they don't, they're more likely to leave, to not engage, to struggle with learning. So the rate of students earning A's or B's increased by 12% when they were more engaged in classes. And students who scored highly on believing they belonged were much more likely to be retained. And it's associated with higher academic performance, persistence, and it's very good for your mental health, right? For you to be in a classroom and feel like you belong there is a wonderful feeling. So we're working on this so that we can help that in all of our gateway courses and retain these students and set them up for success. And I will pass it on to my fellow senior fellow.
Hi, I'm Kasha. I am also a senior fellow and I am an associate dean at Bluegrass Community and Technical College. The other part of our conversation from last time was talking about engagement. We spent some time discussing what co-curricular involvement looked like and the benefits from it. So this is just a brief recap of what co-curricular involvement can do for your students. So this is essentially involvement with things outside the classroom. But it has been associated with improving college success and social benefits, and even directly related to the Kentucky Essential Skills, which we will get to. And co-curricular, if that's not a phrase you're familiar with, is basically any activity that is college sponsored that happens outside the classroom. You can move on. Talking about the essential skills, since if you're involved at all in any of those projects, the 10 essential skills is a hot topic right now. So when we're talking about belonging and co-curricular and engagement, we can very easily tie those activities to essential skill 1, communicate effectively, 5, interpersonal relations, and 7, leadership and teamwork. You can associate it with others as well, but if you are in any kind of process where you are focusing on a particular essential skill, this and hopefully some of the practices we're going to talk about today with our guest speakers will help illustrate how you can tie some of these activities to your essential skill work. That's our plug for the essential skills. Right, I think now we are going to pass it on to our speakers.
Yes, I will do a quick introduction of our speakers and we will let them present in the order that they are on your screen. Today, we have with us Maria, Hunter, and Shane, who are all experts in their own fields. Little mini bios right underneath their profile pictures there. But from our last session, we were in breakout rooms and we opened it up to say to those breakout rooms, if there is something that you'd like to share or something folks seemed really interested in, we wanted to do like a part 2 so that everybody within this Gateway Course Success community could hear about those ideas that were presented. So our speakers today will share something that they have put within their classrooms, or a best practice that has been deemed successful. And we just wanted to take that opportunity to share. So Maria will go first, followed by Hunter, then Shane. And again, please feel free to ask questions as they talk about a practice that has worked for them. So without further ado, I will pass it to Miss Maria.
Thank you. Do I have the possibility of moving the slides, or are you going to do those?
I'm happy to do that, Bria.
Okay, all right. Well, I got a little tickled when I got the email asking me to share what I had shared in the breakout room, and I was like, what did I share in the breakout room? Because if you're like me, you're in a lot of meetings and you discuss a lot of different things. So Padlets is something that I came across. I don't honestly even remember where I saw it. I think I was at a conference or something. But Padlets is something that I have started using, especially in my online class, to try to help students kind of see the other students in the class. Because what I was finding is, though I would do an introduction discussion board or an assignment where students could share information about themselves with the rest of the class or with me, they just really weren't making those connections. You can go ahead and move the next slide. Thanks. So in an FYE class, I say all the time that is the goal of the class, is that we are trying to build connections. We're trying to connect the students to resources, connect them to an academic plan, an end goal. What are they working towards? Make sure they're connecting to faculty and advisors and knowing that there are people there that are supporting them. And then finally, that connection to other students. And that was the one that Padlet kind of has helped me a lot with, is because as I was saying, in an in-person class, even though they may be resistant, you can put them in groups. You can, do some group activities. But online, students don't really want to do group things. A lot of them say, that's why I took an online class. My schedule's a lot different than other students. And where this really became apparent to me was in last fall. I had a student email their first journal. They kind of introduce themselves, say they've read the syllabus, just some basic things. And this student shared with me that he was certain he was the oldest student in my class, and that he worked full time and he had a family, and he just did not feel that he was going to be like any of the other students in our class. He felt really different. And it really resonated with me that he was not seeing himself in that class with other students. He was feeling very isolated. So Padlet, you can go ahead to the next slide. Padlet.com is a free online feature. Sorry, I skipped over that one. So this was hard in asynchronous classes. So I already said all that. You can go on to the next one. So Padlet.com, it is a free web-based platform. And basically, if you can think of it, it's like social media or a Facebook profile. Students can create a profile, and they can add a picture. They don't have to add a picture. They could do like a GIF or a comic strip, or they could do a song. I mean, there's a lot of different features with it. Do I have the ability to share? Might be easier if I share my screen.
You should
Okay,
have a share
let me try.
option at the bottom.
Yeah, let me try. Okay, are you seeing my screen now? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so you can have up to 3 with each email account. So I create one for each of my different classes online. Um, so this is mine. I am choosing to not share my students at this point because of their privacy. I don't want to to splash their pictures on. But basically, they just do the little ad, and then they can add a picture, they can type what they want. It's very user friendly. And then it shows up here as a little profile. So they can double click on them and see them larger. They can read the little profile over here about them. They can make comments, they can do a heart or a like or whatever. So there's different, ways, obviously, you can do that. I also like it because I think I have to have mine open, sorry. you can go into the settings and like tell them, like maybe you don't want them to be able to comment. And so you have the power to do that. You can determine their reactions or not. You can choose what shows. Like, do you want their name to show? Do you not want their name to show? So there's a lot of, oh, profanity, like you can have it filter out things. I try to set some parameters in the instructions of, obviously this is going out to all your classmates, put your best you out there. We're talking about professionalism and those essential skills. This is how do you portray yourself. But then all you have to do is copy the link and then you can put it into your Blackboard or your LMS system, however you want to use that. And then they can also view it like a slideshow where it will go through those. So a lot of just kind of cool uses for it. I found it to be very easy to use. So hold on, let me figure out now how to stop sharing. I minimize my screen. All right, here we go. So do you want to go back to the PowerPoint?
Yes.
So while she's pulling that back up, I will say how I've used it is I have it as an optional assignment. I do not require my students to do it. I do it myself and I make sure my post is on there so that whoever posts first can see mine as an example. I encourage them to put a picture, but I tell them you do not have to share. This is up to you. And I'm amazed at how many do it, even though I don't assign it for a grade. I just want them to you know, see your classmates. That's all I do. I say, meet your classmates. And then I have it as a link there for them to do. I'm also going to use it this next semester. I didn't do it this semester, but I think I'm going to have a post up there or a Padlet up for like class questions. So somebody can post a question so another student can come in and maybe answer that question and do some things like that. Our students kind of like their social media, a lot of them. And so this is just a easy way to do it. I will say, after I did that, the student that had emailed me his introduction journal and talked about, feeling like he was going to be the oldest one, he immediately, right after I made this assignment, the next week, he emailed me back and he said, I just want you to know, and I just want to thank you for doing that because it helped me see I'm not the only one. I saw lots of other students that are working and that are as old as I am or look like I do. And so to me, that was just affirmation enough that, this is a neat thing to do. Again, I'm not an expert at it. I'm sure there's some things I don't know. We did buy a subscription for a couple of years. Those of you that are with KCTCS, you can get unlimited Padlets through a subscription, but you have to put in a credit card and then it's auto renews the next year, and KCTCS doesn't like that. So but the company was great. I just called them and I said, okay, how can we work around that? And they just actually ran the card and then took it back out of their system so it didn't hold on to it. So there are ways to get more Padlets, unlimited if you want to do it for a whole department or anything like that. The other thing I don't know, and I didn't think about it till I was really preparing for this today, is I don't know how a screen reader does on this. So as far as accessibility, I'm not real sure, which would be another thing you would definitely want to check out before making it something for a grade or that was required, because you definitely would want it to be something that is accessible to all our students. But I'm happy to, help get anybody started on it. I think there's a wide range of ways you could use it, and it's really easy and just user friendly. So that's why I liked it.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing such a great tool. I could see how that could increase student engagement, and depending upon what a student shares, could create a community and connections. Through your picture that you shared on the screen, I recognize that tree anywhere, Magical Kingdom. It's a great place, and I hope to go back. And where dreams come true, right? So
Well, I
yeah, I
was
think
just
that's a
there
great.
last week, and I actually, you probably saw me coughing before I started, and thank goodness I made it through. I brought some virus back home with me from there, but yeah, it's my favorite place. And I always get a
Good.
couple of students that will comment that they love it or, different things. So it's just a really cool way to do it.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
great, Fallon. That's good to know. Like I said, this morning I was like, oh, I really hadn't thought about that accessibility part. I should have, but I haven't. And so thanks for checking that out. It does seem to work with screen readers. Great.
Good. Well, I put Maria's contact information on the screen for those of you that want to follow up or have any questions. I thank you for sharing that with us today. I will pass it to Hunter, who is our next person.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you all about what we're doing in first year experience at Bluegrass Community and Technical College. First year experience class FYE is the co-curricular. It is a class that students are taking in order to increase their success in all their other classes. So it is one of the most essential co-curriculars that a student can take within their academic journey. And we're doing some really cool things, and I'm excited to share with you all today. We can go to the next screen. So what motivated us to incorporate these things called engagement credits within our first year experience classes? Well, we saw right in the very beginning that student sense of belonging really improves success and retention. We also really wanted to understand our own sense of belonging to the college. Whenever we started thinking about what are the things that students could do on campus, we also had to reflect on what are the things that we even know that are happening on campus. How much do we understand about the BCTC events? How many of these student organizations are we actually knowledgeable about that we can even tell our students about? We can say all day, hey, there's a student organization out there, you can go check it out, but we're just giving a blanket statement. So we're really helping ourselves develop a better sense of belonging in our own college. Lack of student social skills. We were seeing so many students coming out of COVID that really lacked essential skills in social environments. From just the etiquette of the classroom to how do you approach an instructor after class, or even how do you create friendships within the classroom. Several students still struggle with social skills today, even post COVID. They may have even had time after COVID to, work in a high school, be back in the classroom. But those few years where they were online still impact them today. We also wanted to build in some student accountability into our class outside of just the homework assignments that we have for them or any of the projects that we have for them in the class. This creates some opportunities for students to develop themselves as a student based on their weaknesses rather than us telling them that this is a weakness for them, even if it may not be. And then, of course, we wanted to incorporate the Kentucky Essential Skills inside and outside of the classroom. As we all know, the Kentucky Essential Skills are on their way into the classrooms, and we need to realize that it's not just the classroom where these skills are built, but the students can use the student learning outcomes from those classes to use a skill, a Kentucky Essential skill outside of the classroom and incorporate both of those. And that leads us to the development. So we developed this course, and you can go to the next slide as well, based off of what we learned about our organization. We knew that we had BCTC Student Life, we had campus events, student orgs, student activities, intramural sports, esports, really huge on our campus now. And then also our first year experience class in general. We had these sessions called spotlight sessions in the past, and those spotlight sessions were supplemental instruction that occurred online for students to learn a variety of different skills, like academic skills, like study habits, note-taking skills, also mental health and awareness was included in there. But again, that really restricted the students' experience on campus, and we wanted that experience to be more broad. so that it included things like their interaction with TRIO. Our TRIO program has several field trips to some of our four-year partners' campuses. That's included in an engagement credit. We have veteran services. We have advising. When a student goes to their advisor, I mean, I'm thrilled that they've gone to their advisor early on in the semester and not after the semester has already ended to schedule for the spring. That shows some accountability, that shows some commitment to our students that they can highlight within one specific class. So our big development question also included, how can this participation in these co-curriculars lead to outcomes in our specific class? So we started thinking about our institutional co-curriculars, the ones I just listed out, and then also connected how those co-curriculars can support our student learning outcomes, or even some of the 10 essential skills. It's kind of a little blocked off here, but it says don't forget your community partners as well. Just next week, I'll be meeting with a bank in Lexington, Kentucky, to talk about how we can incorporate some financial literacy into our Spotlight series, so that it supports parts of our student learning outcomes. So let me talk a little bit about our engagement credits on the next slide. So engagement credits for our first year experience classes include 8 engagements throughout the 16-week semester. As we change, the modality, not the modality, but the weeks from like 16-week to 12-week to 8-week, those number of engagements go down just based off of time. And these engagements are going to require a student to have some level of like photo evidence or some type of strong reflection. And they're going to be based on BCTC events and student life, whether they've gone to certain event at BCTC. They could do a spotlight session. They can also do tutoring. Like I said before, we had spotlight sessions as a requirement in our course, but it really limited what the students needed, possibly, right? A student may not have needed the session on let's say there's a wonderful session that students really enjoy is grief, right? Like the grief session, they may not have needed that, so they may not have signed up for it. So we've expanded our engagement credit or spotlight sessions to be engagement credits so that it meets more parts of a student's experience rather than just these small steps that a student may experience throughout the semester. That includes advising and then student services. As you can see, all of these are the co-curriculars that are being offered at our campus, and we're encouraging our students to really take on some of these activities and some of these sessions so that they're held accountable for being engaged on our campus, in hopes that we're building up that social skill that they may need development on, in hopes that they'll be successfully retained as well. You can see there we have some of the reflection questions that give the students the ability to tell us what they experienced, what they learned, and just really how does that make them feel connected to BCTC. The overall question of, did sense of belonging occur for the student? Was it heightened for that student? Go to the next slide here. So this is what our assignment looks like in our LMS. So KCTCS uses Blackboard Ultra. So this is a Blackboard Ultra assignment where it says engagement credit evidence journal with the little Pathfinder fox. We use the purpose task criteria model, which is the TILT, transparency in learning and teaching. And you can see, we explain to the students why we're wanting them to do these 8 engagement credits. We're giving them the specific task where they're assigned to do the 8 tasks. And then they can choose from those specific tasks. And then the criteria for success is that journal reflection that I highlighted previously. So these are semester-long journals that the students will record. So it's kind of like a discussion board, but it's really for us, it's only between the student and the instructor. But I could see how this could be a discussion board where students are sharing intermittently throughout the semester. You could also make it more scaffolded where, engagement 1 has to be completed here, engagement 2 needs to be here. But this is our way of getting students more engaged with our campus and then highlighting what that means to them, so that we can gather some information about how they're feeling about some of the events that we're even providing. And then I want to show you all some examples of what students are submitting. So this is an example of like a picture that a student submitted. This is on the left-hand side, a spotlight session. The spotlight sessions are the online virtual sessions where we do a variety of different topics. In this case, it was the stressed or depressed. And the student says, I feel closer to BCTC because I definitely learned about some new resources like the heart of BCTC, which is our food pantry. I had no idea that there was a food pantry with household things for students. That would help me tremendously. Not to mention, we can have 8 free counseling sessions a year. I might have to look further into these things. So this student, when I pulled, they're an entirely online student. They're a student that typically would not attend any classes in person, and now they know that there's a resource in person for them to go to, that can provide them with food and other household items, and also get online free counseling, 8 sessions of that. On the right hand side, we have a student who was attending campus classes, and they went to a block party that we put on where it highlighted some of our programs and a lot of our services. And that student says, I met several new people, and also I'm at the point now where I recognize other students from classes and or my job at the library. Awesome. That means that they're seeing people, they're seeing their cohort, and they're realizing that there are people that they're going to continue to see throughout their time here at BCTC, and they can feel more comfortable, interacting with them. It was super fun, and I very much appreciate all the effort BCTC puts in for students to feel welcome and have a good time on campus. One more that I just want to highlight, it actually comes back from the stressed or depressed session. Our counselors, our mental health counselors on our campus provide wonderful sessions that go from study skills to depression to understanding suicide to grief. And some of these sessions can be the essential topic that a student needs at that specific moment in time. And we have gotten several students who have said, I'm so thankful for us providing these spotlight sessions at a really critical time. What's also very helpful is when we get that student email that says, my grandmother, my mom, my dad, unfortunately has passed. We can tell them about a resource on our campus, and it not only gets them into the door with that service, but it also helps them within that specific class, right? This is part of the class. So we're developing our classes to be more connected to our co-curriculars because we realize this is the pathway for students to understand that it doesn't have to happen in the class, right? Those student learning outcomes don't have to be learned in the specific class. They can be learned outside of class and then re-brought into the class, reflected on, and give really good reason of why they believe they've connected well with that student learning outcome or the Kentucky essential skills. All right, I think that is all that I have. I think maybe we'll move on to Shane's.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. When I was asked to share a little bit about the jigsaw method, I want to preface this by saying I am certainly not an expert on the jigsaw method, but I'm sort of framing this talk as if you see an idea out there you want to try, go ahead and grab it and make it yours. And so let's look at, if you'd advance the slide for me, Ashley, let's look at the traditional jigsaw method here. So a traditional jigsaw method will take your class and divide them into 4 groups, A, B, C, and D, let's call them, and give each group a topic. And they take a few minutes to become experts on that topic through material you've given them, through discussion with each other. They become experts on that topic. And then you send those students back and mix them up. So you'll have create new groups. Each group has one member from expert group A, one member from expert group B, and from C and D, and then they share with each other what they learned in their expert groups. So you've got students teaching students, which I always like to see. So you're really raising engagement there. You're really getting students involved in the material. And I can see where this would work really good in a lot of settings. In a literature class, I can see where this would work really good, and each of your expert groups take a point of view of a particular character in your story. Or in a history class, I could see where this would work really good, where each expert group represents a country or a faction. Or in a first year experience group class, where each expert group represents a campus resource, and then they get back together and tell each other about those resources. But I'm a mathematician, and I've been racking my brain ever since I heard about the jigsaw method for years and how to get this to work in a mathematics course. So if you go ahead to the next slide, why was I nervous about using the jigsaw method? I do group activities every day in my classes to encourage student engagement. So break up into groups of two. We're going to do an activity at the end of class. So I'm not afraid of working in groups. But what held me back with this? Well, mathematics is so linear. Topic one builds on topic two, builds on topic three. And if you don't know about topic one, topics two and three get a lot harder. And so I was having trouble with that. I'm a mathematician, and so I went right to what if my number of students is not divisible by four? What if at the end I've got a group that has two instead of four in it? Do they get exposure to all those things? And so that really bugged me. Okay, I've got 23 students showed up today instead of 24. It's not going to work. Um, Will everyone participate equally? When you get into groups of four, it's easy for somebody to hide in the group. It's easy for somebody to take over that group. And so, will everybody participate? And then giving up instructor control. One of the hardest things I did in my career, and one of the best things I did in my career, was give up class time each day for group activities. And now I'm giving it up in a different way and trusting students to teach each other. So what was the tipping point for me to try something here? And we'll go on to the next slide here. So I was assigned this semester to teach our co-requisite college algebra course for the first time. And I went to one of our other instructors on campus and what do you do in this class? What sort of things do you try? And our instructor, Kristen Whaley, had a great jigsaw activity that she tried in class. And it's like, okay, let me try this. So the co-requisite class, I'm sure all of us are at least a little bit familiar with the co-requisite model. We're doing review information. So she had 4 review topics. These were topics that students should have seen at least a little bit and just need a refresher on. And so now we've overcome one of those problems I had, the linearity of topics, that these are things anybody should be able to dive in at any point in time. They just need a refresher on. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can make this work. Maybe I can make this work. And this is my encouragement to all faculty out there. The encouragement I give to young faculty is try something and make it your own. And so that's what I did. And we'll go on to the next slide here. So take something and fit it to your style. So I'm going to introduce to you what I'm calling the half jigsaw or seesaw method. I love the name, patent pending on that. Actually, somebody else has probably come up with something else called seesaw, but I don't know. I was tickled by the name. Let me explain what I did to raise student engagement and to make myself feel more comfortable with the jigsaw style presentation. So we'll go to the next slide here for part 1 of the seesaw method. So what I did was I divided students up into groups of 2. I like groups of 2 because it's hard to hide in a group of 2, right? You've got to engage with your partner. So I divide them up into groups of 2. Let's call member A and member B in each group. And then what I did was I called all the people who were member A in each group, come to the front of the room with me. And we're going to have a mini lecture on topic number 1. At the same time, I had a lab assistant in class. He took all the member B students and took them into the back of the room and gave a little mini lecture. Then what we did was we had the pairs get back together and they taught each other what they learned in those mini lectures. So we're getting the students teaching students thing from the jigsaw approach, And we're still delivering the information, me and my lab assistant, and you're getting the students working together in groups of two. But it doesn't stop there. And so we'll go to the next slide. Thank you, Ashley. Now we switch. So the people who talk to my lab assistant, now they come up to me at the front of the room. And the people who saw the lab assistant who saw me first go to the lab assistant. So they get to talk to both of us there. Nobody thinks it's unfair. I only got to talk to the lab assistant. Everybody gets to talk to each of us. And we repeat again. I talk about topic number 3. A lab assistant talks about topic number 4. Again, really short mini lecture. The way we did this was we had a worksheet with some guided problems, and they would do a problem with us in that little mini lecture, and then they go share with their partner how to do that little mini problem. So we really had a lot of structure for them. Then the groups convene again. They teach each other about the new topic they've learned. And now the thing that they'll say use in the jigsaw method as well as this one, be sure to give them an assessment to make sure it's sinking in. So what I would do is I gave them 4 new problems to work on, one from each topic, and they had to work together on it. So how did this work? So how did this work for me? So we'll go to the next slide. Did this address my concerns? With the idea of math is too linear for something like this? The review topics were perfect for this. Anybody could have jumped into any of those 4 review topics. They were all independent, so it worked really good. Does it have to be a multiple 4? Well, it worked well in pairs. And if an odd number of students showed up, one group of 3 wasn't going to break the design there. And so it worked well, where nobody was hiding in a group of 4 there. As I walked around the room and watched them teach each other, everybody was engaged. It was the best participation we'd had all semester. And instructor control, yeah, I maintained a little bit of instructor control, but all still had students teaching students. So they would see something with me and then go explain to their partner what they saw when they were with me or with the lab assistant. So again, the big lesson here that I want to keep coming back to is if you see something new that you want to try, whether it's a Padlet or an engagement policy or a teaching style that you've seen others talk about, read up, learn a little bit about it, and then make it work for you. Because students will tell if you're trying to force something on that you don't feel comfortable with. Adapt it for the way you think is going to work for you. What am I going to do next with this? I'm currently working on this. I teach a co-requisite course for my introductory stats course. We're going to try it in there. And then I'm going to check into patenting that name Seesaw because I don't know. I'm just tickled by that name. I think it's amusing. So I'll end my quick introduction to the jigsaw method with some links here. A lot of people have talked about jigsaw method. You can find lots of videos on YouTube. So here are just a few links on good practices with the jigsaw method and my contact information, as I'm always love to talk about professional development and student engagement ideas.
Thank you so much, Shane, for sharing that. I know from the last conversation breakout session, folks really wanted to hear about the jigsaw method. So I hope folks, to your point, have heard something today and truly make it their own. I will pause here for just a second to see if folks have any questions for our presenters. Or want to follow up with asking anything. But I agree with Fallon. I just saw your comment in the chat. That is a really fun name, and I hope that patent goes through. And if no question, oh, I know where you're gonna.
Yeah, I just want to mention to Maria and the group about how we've used Padlet for not a class, but for a program called Success Academy, which is our summer bridge program. We put our students onto a scavenger hunt and we give them a bunch of riddles, and we have no clue where the groups are without Padlet. So we have the students go through the riddles. They have to go to the resource that's on campus, take a picture with it, and then upload it to Padlet. So we pretty much know where all the students are, and they really haven't left us. That's been great. I've seen a faculty member do like the tree identification based off of leaves that they have to go out into our grounds, and then they post on Padlet the tree and then the leaf, whichever one, however they're identifying it. And it's pretty fun. They really enjoy it. And you have a collection of like just hilarious photos for so long.
That's a great idea, Hunter. I love a good scavenger hunt. My one tip of advice to you is watch the reward at the end. We tried a scavenger hunt where the reward at the end was pizza, and you had to go through the scavenger hunt to get to the pizza. Well, they all showed at the room with the pizza. They said, "We can smell the pizza. We just want to come right here and get the pizza." So watch your reward at the end.
I could see that for some hungry college students, and it's around that time. Yeah, they're like eyes on the prize for sure. Any other last minute thoughts or questions for any of our presenters? I did just drop into the chat a link to an evaluation of today's session. It should take no more than 1 minute. If you have that, please feel free to share any feedback that you have. And I will very quickly just kind of give you guys some food for thought as we go and continue this course of Gateway Course Success. I'm going to share my screen one last time with you guys. Some opportunities, and you would think technology would get so much better, but it doesn't. Or how I'm doing it and navigating the space. Just wanted to share some next steps and opportunities. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about the Kentucky Mindset Academy. If you haven't, I know I email you guys like crazy, or at least a couple times a month. So for sure, don't ignore the emails, keep reading them. We will embark on cohort number 2 for the Kentucky Mindset Academy. So if you or a colleague were not able to participate the first go around, please know that details about cohort number 2 will come out soon. We are trying to engage a lot of faculty in the sense of those that teach math or English or a co-requisite course, but all are welcome. We've had first year experience course teachers. We've had those that are teaching the physical sciences. So we want to open and extend this opportunity to as many faculty across the state, knowing that faculty are lifelong learners, just as Shane mentioned, like do something, try something that you'd like to. And we hope that through this academy with Motivate Lab, you get a second wind of empowerment to try some new things. So be on the lookout for that. Another opportunity for those that teach gateway courses, and I'll drop this link in the chat as well, is trusted sources. So piggybacking off of Hunter, making sure that our faculty also feel empowered to share resources across campus. So this will be a quick in the fall training opportunity to hear what trusted sources is all about, and then getting familiar with those services on your campus specifically. Any opportunity to grow and learn, I will often encourage that for you guys as well. So I will include that link in the chat in just a second. And then our next community of practice will be on Halloween. I'm hoping nothing spooky pops out, but lots of candy that day. But we would like for you to join us. Same time and day of the week. We will be going over advising strategies for Gateway students. And I will encourage Halloween costumes of any kind or a spooky background to be on theme. But would love for you guys to join us that day for that topic as well. If nothing else, I do thank you guys for joining us today for the Gateway Course Success Community of Practice. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Please feel free to reach out to any of our presenters, myself, or senior fellows as we continue to advance the strategy for student success with the collaborative. Happy Friday, and I hope you guys have a lovely weekend. I'll hang on for any questions, but thank you for joining us for the session today.
Okay, I can't access the things you're saying are in chat.
Like you can't see the chat?
No, I mean, I see chat. I turned on chat, but it's not showing me anything anyone has posted today.
I can see it. That's weird.
Yeah.
Asha, I texted you in the chat. So is this just a very clever way of getting out of the question that I asked you?
No, it's not. It means I am not getting an updated chat.
Check at the top and make sure you didn't accidentally go into a single person chat and that you're in the everyone chat.
I am in
Mm-hmm.
the everyone chat.
Okay, because I've done that before.
Did you guys see anything I posted?
Nope.
Yeah,
I
Mm-mm.
do.
Oh no,
Asha,
wait,
I
you
see that you
posted
posted.
Hunter's email.
okay, so you see that.
Yep.
Okay, but I don't see anything anyone else has posted.
And you talked about Padlet. So I see what you said.
Well, I don't see what you said.
It's an
When in
IT
doubt, reboot.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I feel sad. All right, well, David, I'm not ignoring you. I didn't get it, so you'll.
We should have a phone call.
Yeah,
Give me a call this afternoon when you have a chance.
I don't know if I have your number. Call me.
I would say put it in the chat, but
Yeah, well, I'm not going to see it if you put it in the chat, so that's not good. Just send me an email.
Okay.
Gosh,
I will do.
I can save the chat and send it to you if that'll help.
No, it's just very odd. Just wish I knew. I don't know. I'll try next time.
no, my computer for sure has been working hard this week, and I feel like that probably contributed to my emails not doing the thing the other day. So I rebooted, restarted.
Yeah, may just
Okay.
have to do that. All right. Thank you for the
Well,
Thank you,
presentations.
Ashley.
thank you.
Thanks,
Shane, that was
Ashley.
really good.